Once again, it's time to dive headfirst into the deep end of the cryptid pool to dredge up some of the most incredibly bizarre encounters with beings and creatures that stretch our known reality to its limit. The kind of encounters that occupy their own section of the cryptid library. Our first encounter with the truly bizarre comes from Dahlonega, Georgia, by a man known only as Brian, who described seeing something tall, leathery, and alien-like after leaving church. The kicker, though? It had no face. He posted his strange encounter over on the National Cryptid Society's report page, in which he said, "I was leaving church one night just after dark. As I came to a stop at the end of the driveway, I saw a hairless humanoid creature walking across the road about 11 yards to my right. There was a nearby streetlight, so I could see it fairly clearly. It had a complete normal human shape with tan, leathery-looking skin and no clothing at all. It was the size of a 4-year-old child and walked like a normal human. At first I saw it from the side, but when it was most of the way across the road, it turned as if it was looking at me. Upon turning its head towards me, I could see that it had no eyes, nose, or lips. It had smooth indentations where the eyes should have been, a smooth slight protrusion where the nose should have been, and nothing where the mouth should have been at all. It also had no noticeable ears. It did not respond to me noticing other than the 2 seconds that it faced me. It continued on its straight path up a small embankment and into the woods. As it climbed up the embankment, it crawled on all four, the same way a human might when climbing up a steep hill. It was walking from the direction of a gravel road, between a pump and well business and an old barn. It walked north across Cavender Creek Road and into the woods on the other side, in the direction of Ricketts Lake. The area has lots of hayfields, woods, hills, and creeks. Further north is a national forest. I haven't told many people about this because it makes me sound crazy. People think I'm making it up or I was on drugs. Neither is true. I've searched for similar sightings for years and haven't come across anything that resembles what I saw. My hypothesis is that it might live in a cave somewhere nearby. There are plenty of caves in the area, and that could explain why it had no eyes. Some people have said that it was probably an alien. I doubt this because it was not carrying anything and was not startled upon seeing me. It seems like if it was an alien that ventured from its craft, it would have been carrying something, either for protection, navigation, or collecting samples. What do you think this individual saw? What he describes sounds similar to the tall grays described by many UFO abductees, but with enough differences, such as the missing face, to make it unique. Also, the witness didn't believe it was extraterrestrial in nature anyway. We're only left to add it to the list of strange cryptids. Our next unexplained encounter comes from the area of Redlands, Florida, where a Chris Kenny and his girlfriend Jenny Fairbanks, looking for a quiet enough spot along a creek to make out, spotted something that is half human and half alligator. Needless to say, this encounter spoiled the mood pretty quickly. Known locally as the Gator Man, it is described as being 6 to 7 feet tall, humanoid in body, but sports the head of an alligator, as well as long ridges down its back, ending in a long, thick tail. At around 2 a.m., they claimed that they had heard rustling in the trees, and Kenny would explain of what happened next. I got out my flashlight and saw a pair of eyes reflecting back. I thought it was a gator, no big deal. Then we got closer and the damn thing was standing on 2 legs. There's a monster there. I saw it with my own eyes. The two then left the area as fast as they could and have no explanation for what they saw. And the sightings of Gator Man don't end there. Another case was reported by one Bethany Cortez, who was driving home for work in the evening along a back road that loops around the Wictalusa swamp. As she drove along the road, a large figure dashed out into her headlights, and it seemed to have large spiny ridges along its back. The creature looked right at her with an elongated reptilian head and quote-unquote flashed its teeth before disappearing. The Wictalusa Swamp seems to be the hotbed for the sightings of the Gator Man, and one woman who lives right at its edge claims to have seen the things on many occasions. One Wendy Bannon and her family have been living at the swamp's edge for years and claim they actually feed the Gator Man, with chickens, beef ribs, and grilled vegetables and a loaf of fresh baked bread. She says, when he's fed, he's happy and he leaves us alone. It's when people disrespect him and go into his home that people get hurt. Next in line comes an encounter which took place in Oak Creek, Wisconsin. A man who didn't wish to be named sighted on a drive something that, to his mind, could have leapt straight from the screen of a well-loved franchise. He told of his strange encounter. I sighted a very strange flying creature over a week ago while driving home from work on December 14th, 2018 at approximately 6 p.m. in Oak Creek, Wisconsin. This weird experience has been brimming to the top of my mind recently, so I decided to finally make a report, somewhere, anywhere, to relieve my thoughts about it. I'd been telling myself that I most likely witnessed a large hawk or owl, but incidentally, while watching the bat scene in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom during Christmas vacation, I realized that I should be honest with myself. The creature I saw was definitely not bird-related. I was driving between 30 and 35 miles an hour eastbound on Drexel Avenue. It's my usual route home, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. I just passed over the railroad tracks and proceeded up an incline, bordered by farmland and trees. I should note at this point, I'm accustomed to casually scanning the street's shoulders, because deer will sometimes cross into traffic. It can get quite dark here, although with the street lamps and clear skies, I could see enough detail for comfort. Also, about a block ahead to the left, the glow of the sprawling Life Creek Church property was just breaking the horizon. What I'm describing next occurred within about 5 or 6 seconds, so please don't mistake my detail for a prolonged incident. The oddity of it all imprinted what seems like movie frames in my memory. I'm approaching a series of young trees, now barren of leaves for the winter, lining the church property. I noticed something odd, a vague and disturbing mass moving towards the top of one of the trees. I had a scant thought that I'm seeing a really rare bird, and just then this thing dives off the tree towards the road, flapping its wings once and rising sharply. At this point it appeared as a big brown blur. Then this supposed bird beats its massive wings twice more. Whoosh! Whoosh! Now it's gliding across the left lane into clear view, illuminated by my headlights. As I reflexively remove my foot from the gas pedal, I study this creature's profile through the safety of my windshield. I absorb every detail possible, confused yet intrigued. From front to back, this whole animal is colored a dull beige. Its wings are stretched high for a good second or two. They are leathery and have supporting ribs. No feathers or plumage whatsoever. The body is smooth with a thin, fuzzy coat. The head is triangular with a darker brown blotch for its eye area. I didn't understand any of my observations, but it was real and absolutely outrageous. It whooshes its wings once again to traverse across the entire right lane, soaring into a thick tree line. I exhaled and exclaimed, "Wow, now that's a big bird." I swiveled my head to face the road again as I passed through its trajectory. A car approached over the hill from the opposite lane, and I wondered if the driver saw anything. Seconds later, I stopped at the next intersection's traffic lights, rummaging through the taxonomic possibilities. A hawk? An owl? An eagle? Maybe it was a huge bat. But this creature had 4 to 5 foot wingspan. I've witnessed hawks from no more than 10 yards away jumping on bushes to catch rodents, and that's the only thing I could compare it to. Well, that's what it was then, I rationalized. Today I began to research various bats living in Wisconsin, then North America, and then the world. I couldn't find any species that resembled this thing's proportions or color. The nearest relation I could find to it was the flying fox bat. The size is about right, but this bat I saw was monochromatic beige. I didn't catch any legs or ear protrusions, but that's probably because most of my focus was on those monstrous wings. Going from a Wisconsin bat to straying way off into the brain-scratchingly weird, our last report comes from Sugar Creek, Missouri, sometime in March of 2020, where a school teacher on his walk to work took an alley straight into the bazaar. He stated, "So I was walking to work, I'm a high school teacher, after visiting my aging grandmother who lives in the location. I took this back road alleyway behind the house since it was a shortcut and I loved the scenery there. It was around 6 in the morning, so it was still kind of dark. The way the alleyway was is that it's a single lane road with trees around it, and I was heading west towards the community garden. I heard some chittering sounds, so I assumed it was a bird or something. I heard a trash can fall over. Just the neighbor's dog, rummaging through the trash, I thought. I saw something behind a tree, and it looked like it was trying to hide from me. It chittered at me and made a mad dash across the pavement into the other trees, and I didn't see much of it, but it was at least 6 feet tall and had black stripes on its body. It stood upright and it had 4-fingered hands, and it was bow-legged. It managed to scratch the strap of my satchel when it ran, and the claw marks looked more precise, not rugged. I don't know if it tried to attack me or if it was scared of me and brushed the strap on accident when it ran away. I tried telling my buddy about it, but he was sarcastic, so I assumed no one else would believe me. I only found out about this website today, so I figured I would share my experience with the Raccoon Man, as I dubbed him. One can wonder about these encounters which stretch just beyond the pale when it comes to cryptids. Is there something to be said about these sightings, or do they just stray far enough off the beaten path that they can only be considered campfire stories and amazing tall tales? To me, they are all equally fascinating. Hey everybody, if you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more Unknown Files here on Unknown Territory. And most importantly, thanks for watching.